Odysseus, the Epic Myth of the Hero, Book 5, Part 1. Now by this tiller, steering with great skill, I'll sit both night and day with little sleep, and sight upon the clustered Pleiades and Bouthes, setting late, but most of all the bear, by some the wagon called, which wheels and never dips his stars in ocean baths, the bear Calypso, noblest of goddesses, commanded that I keep upon my left at night, sailing over the uncertain sea, but now the wind won't let me steer this course. Odysseus plunged his hand into the sea and brought a palmful to his lips to wet, and then addressed his mega-hearted soul. What taste is this that lies beneath the salt? I sense the sweet and flowing waters of a river, one near home, the Alpheus perhaps, that empties in the sea just south of forested Zakynthos on the mainland of Peloponnesos, the river where the naiad Paraboia came to life, Paraboia, the mother of my wife. Is this the aftertaste that haunts my tongue, some wayward drop of dear Penelope? In the end, all things wash down to the sea. Laertes, my aged father, claimed to know the waters near shore of home by taste, and never feared to sail at night. Fight wind and wave that come against you now, Odysseus, and fix your eyes upon the stars. Next day the dawn arose with ruby fires, spreading light to man and God on earth. Odysseus awoke to find the wind had changed. Now warm and bearing fine red dust, it came from Africa due south. He rigged his sail, set his course against the current, but with the wind, and thanked the God who made the homeward hot sirocco blow. For 7 days he sailed this course. On day 18, shadowy mountains loomed. The island of Phaeacia, his destination, anchored like a backbone on the misty sea, but fresh come back from Ethiopia, high-flying the Lord, the earth-shaker Poseidon, spied from distant mountain crags and Solymi, Odysseus sailing, and in his heart he raged, and shook his head and spoke these words of spite inside his soul. For shame! The gods have changed their fickle minds about Odysseus, while I sojourned among the distant Ethiopians. Now, truly close to blessed turf he sails, Phaeacia, down yonder where his fate is to escape from hardship once he lands. I hate him still, and send him more bad luck. This said, he gathered clouds and troubled seas, with trident grasped in devastating hands. He angered boiling whirlwinds up to life. He shrouded land and sea in blinding mists, and cast black night down from the highest heaven. Now east wind clashed with south wind in a whirl, and west wind smashed the north wind grindingly, and waves of tumbling breakers rolled in fast. The knees of Odysseus buckled in fear, and sorely vexed in mind, he spoke these words. O gods, all waves seem bent to break on me. I fear the goddess only spoke the truth when she declared that further woes still lay in wait for me upon the sea before I reach my cherished father's house and land. By such black clouds he shrouds the heavens, Poseidon, who stirred the seas and urged the crosswinds. To me now comes the lofty figure Death. Thrice blessed those Achaeans, no 4 times blessed, who died in service to Agamemnon's ends, destroying Troy. So truly ought I have met my fate that day by bronze-tipped spears, hard flung by raging Trojans round dead Achilles. At least that doom would have won funeral rites, and all Achaeans hear word of my faith. I now give in to disappear in death. This said, a monstrous wave upon him broke, crashing terribly, whirling the raft. The mast was snapped in two by churning winds, the rudder ripped from clawing, desperate hands, his body flung far off by tumbling surge, the shattered yardarm landing by his side. Many times the violent waters shoved him under, and in his struggles for the surface, the cloak given him by Calypso, that noblest of goddesses, held him down. After one long dousing, he popped up, spitting sharp brine from his mouth while his nose ran torrents. As worn as he still lunged through the waves, never forsaking his raft. He dragged himself aboard and gripped the stump of mast and dodged sure death once more. Mega swells tossed his raft here and there like downy dandelion seeds at the whim of summer crosswinds. Thus the south wind threw him back to the north wind, and the east wind slapped him back to the west. Then shapely ankled Ino, daughter once of Cadmus, speaker once of human speech, now honored goddess deep below the sea, saw poor Odysseus floundering and pitting him in grips with wave-tossed death. Ino claimed ancestry back to the god Inachus, lord of flowing river waters. Coming of age in troubled times, she made a troubled secret marriage to Athamas, king of Orchomenos, as his second wife. Nepele was his first, but she disdained his mortal touch because she was a phantom in the likeness of the goddess Hera. Zeus created her to trick the lust of Ixion. This ancient king, against the laws of hospitality, lured the father of his bride to death by fire upon the very steps that led up to his palace. Paying back a debt of blood he owed his own dear father, lost in fruitless weary war. Dread Ixion raped Dia to the outrage of the gods, but strangely Zeus declined to punish him, and even banqueted this evil king upon Olympus. What gall to dare, when Ixion allowed himself to lust for Hera, Zeus's own sister wife, and think for one short heartbeat mighty Zeus would not fathom it. The god of all creation on a whim commanded that a cloud appear, and shaped it fine as Hera's figure, even warm to touch, and offered Ixion, intoxicated at first sit by sheer ambrosia, his love to love. Mad Ixion, no thought to host nor hospitality, lured her off, and laid with Hera's phantom like she was his whore. Zeus surprised him, her on top, and bid his son, the Argus killer, scourge him even till his backbone showed. Hermes bent sudden Ixion back and tied his ankles to his wrists and neck and whipped him all across the sky, a fiery wheel to turn, forever searching benefaction. False Hera now bore Ixion a son Centaurus, who mated with mares and sired the learned race of horse centaurs. But Nepele grieved and wandered hall to hall in vast Olympus. Hera pitied her, commanding Nepele wed mortal Athamas, Aeolus' son and brother to evil Sisyphus. She bore the king a daughter and 2 sons, and then withdrew her love complete. Bereft Athamas fell in love with destined Ino, bringing her in secret to his palace at the foot of Mount Lephistium, and sired upon her 2 fine sons, Melicertes and Learchus. Palace servants gossiping revealed Ino's presence to Nepele. Fury gripped her hoarding, jealous heart, and she returned with tales to Hera high on Mount Olympus. Bitter Hera sympathized and vowed eternal vengeance on the house of King Athamas, sending Zeus's phantom back to cry in public for the blood of lecherous, impious Athamas on the steps of his own palace. Ino, his whore, and bastard sons to share his fate. But the men he ruled feared Athamas more than they believed aggrieved of Mele then. The women worshipped Ino, wishing her no harm. All turned their faces from Nepele, believing love disdained had only reawakened in a jealous fit. Now Ino had a dream that came from devious Hera, saying she must get the women of Orchomenos to parch the seed in secret to destroy the coming harvest. When not a single tender blade sprouted, Athamas sent to Delphi, asking what the sin or vile pollution caused this failure of the crop. Now sure the gods decreed sheer destruction on Athamas, Ino bribed the messengers to bring a false reply to his inquiry, thinking that to serve immortals did not make them easier to understand, and with a prayer in heart, this pious woman undermined her husband. Ino bid the messengers to say the land could only get fertility in time to save the crops if Athamas took the eldest of Nepenthes' son upon the peak of Mount Laphystium, and there by ancient hand-knapped blade of flint sacrifice him to the cloud-gatherer, mighty Zeus. Now Phrixus, eldest born of Athamas' son, already lay under cloud in Orchomenos for his love his aunt Beatrice had for him. He spurned her kiss, and she cried rape, and men believed the charge because it seemed to fit the choice Apollo's oracle had made. Athamas wept, but put his crown above his kin, and led his eldest boy up to the peak. In light of such betrayal, Phrixus did not hate to die, but climbed with steady steps. Athamas laid the wicked blade along the vein that throbbed where neck and collarbone unite, and shook a fist at gods above. His hand was stayed by Hercules upon the mountain hunting, claiming Father Zeus abhorred blood sacrifice of mortal men. All doubt Athamas had was lost when from the sky a winged golden ram appeared and bore away both Phrixus and his sister Hele, flying to the east for Colchis, where the sun god stables all his steeds. But at the place where seas divide the shores of Europe and Asia, Hele lost her grip and fell. Men call the straits that rest her bones the Hellespont. Sad Phrixus journeyed on and reached the land of Colchis, where he sacrificed the ram to Zeus' deliverer. Its golden fleece resourceful Jason led the Argonauts in search of, not a generation hence, and stole it with Medea's ruthless sorcery and a fast ship. In shock and awe by wonders seen on Mount Laphystium, the lying messengers confessed that they had been bribed by Ino to return from Delphi with a false reply. Beatrice's lies were also brought to light, and all Orchomenians wept for Phrixus, giving thanks to Father Zeus. Nepele screeched, demanding that Athamas die by sacrificial knife in place of Phrixus. Angry men laid hands upon the king, and only Hercules could halt his death. Scheming Hera drove Athamas raving mad. The queen of gods hated him beyond her phantom's hate, because he aided Ino when she harbored infant Dionysius, bastard got by Zeus on Hera's sister Semele by order of the Allfather. His eyes amazed, Athamas grabbed a spear and claimed he saw a snow-white stag, and hurled the pitiless bronze deep into the heart of young Learchus, his son by Ino. Now Ino grabbed her other son and fled, and when she came upon the sea, she leapt from heights and drowned. But Zeus, to honor Ino for her care of Dionysius, stayed her soul from dread Tartarus, and made a goddess of her there as Leucothea, the white goddess, guide to passing ships.